Hey, welcome back once again to Jack's Tech Corner and another Photoshop Elements video tutorial. And I'm really sure that from the title you'll see that this is a Christmas or a holiday event type of a photo edit that we're going to be doing today. Now, what I did first was to get us started here with the edit overall is as I walk around and when I look at different things, this happened to be a train set up in a mall. Obviously, it's a wooden structure, but it was set up in a mall, and this was set around the Santa Claus area, where kids come in and meet Santa Claus. And I stepped back and I looked at this thing, and I pulled out my cell phone. Yep, sometimes you use your cell phone to take photographs with. And I took a picture of this train, knowing the edit that I wanted to do. And I thought, this is perfect for this edit. And I took this picture, so we're going to go ahead and get started with this edit. And again, this is just one of those holiday ideas for you just to kind of get you into the spirit. So this decoration was there, and I decided that I'm going to use this for this particular edit. So what I'm going to do first is very simply duplicate that background layer, again, either using Command or Control J. Now, once we have that background layer duplicated, I'm going to take some photographs that I took recently with the birth of my new grandson, and I thought this would be a wonderful way for that baby's first Christmas. Just something to give the family, a little surprise package for them. So we have these 5 windows, and we see that they're up and down. Okay, so what I'm saying there is we're going to need photographs that we took in the portrait mode. If you took them in the landscape mode, they're not going to quite look right in these windows. So we're going to put these in portrait mode, and we're going to use these in this particular layout. So what we're going to do with these photographs is, and I have them right here. So if I go to File and I go to Place. Now I like to use Place instead of putting them down here and pulling them up. Let's see what happens there. Let's go down here, and we're going to open. I'm going to open one of these photographs. This is the first photograph we're going to use here. Now, if I go back, and if we drag this photograph and lay it on top of this picture, we're going to see what we get there. So we could do it this way, and what we get there is what's called a smart object. Now, a smart object, is we can do a lot of stuff with this object. Resize it, and we can put it where we want to. We can do it like this. So you can very much do it this way. Okay, there's a very easy way to do that, and it will work if you want to do it this way. And we'll put it in here, and we're going to go over that. So we're going to take that out for just a moment, and I'm going to delete this layer because we're not going to use the smart object. And I know you can change it now in Photoshop Elements 15. You can actually make that not a smart object and simplify it. But we're not going to do that. We're going to right-click on here, and I'm going to delete that layer. Yes, let's take that out of there. Now, the way I would rather do these photos, and you've seen me do this in the past, is we're going to place them onto our photograph. So we're going to go up to File, and we're going to go to Place. Now, when you do this, you have to know where the photographs are. I happen to put these in my desktop in a folder called Chase, and I have all the photographs I'm going to use for this particular edit. Going right down the line. So we're going to pick the first one here, a beautiful picture of baby Chase and some guy there holding him, which would be me. So we're going to just click OK. Now what we can do here is we're going to resize this photo just by grabbing the top, the bottom, left or right. But you always want to drag from the corner, because what happens is if you drag from the side here, you can drag it. But look what you start doing to the photograph, right? You start making it distorted, and we don't want to do that. Okay. We want to pull this out here. So what you want to do with your photograph is drag it from the corner and drag down. This keeps it proportional, and you're not going to, unless you move your mouse around a lot, you're not going to get that distortion look. Okay. And then what we're going to do is go up and we're going to start placing it in these windows. So we're going to pull this down a little bit more. And we're going to pull it up here. Pull it down a little bit more. So we'll place it in the window, and you say, well, okay, Jack, but that window is slightly off. It's not straight up and down. It's not a perfect square in any means there. So, but you're going to try to get it down to the very bottom here. Something like that. And then you say, okay, we're going to click OK. Now we can still see some glass behind there. I'm going to blow this up a little bit here so we can see it. And let's move this down a little bit. So you can still see some glass behind. You're like, well, Jack, that's not very convincing. It doesn't look very good. And you're right. You'd be absolutely right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to Image, Transform, and we're going to distort it. Okay, now you're not going to distort to the point where it's going to look like liquid or anything crazy like that. But we can now pull it by the corners, and you can see where it's not pulling the whole photograph. It's only pulling what we need it to pull. And we're going to place it where we want to in this window. So distorting allows us to move it left and right, up and down without. And we're going to put it right about there. And the reason is I'm trying to leave some of that base right here. There you go. And it looks like we can use a little bit more there. So we'll go back to Image, Edit, Distort, and pull up this top piece here just a little bit more. Something like that. And the glass over here is not showing. Right like that. All right, so there is our first photograph. All right, very, very simple to do. And we can see now where it's inside that window frame. Let's go ahead and place our next photograph. We're going to place this next photograph. I'm going to show you a way to clean these up a little bit. The next photograph will be here. This is actually my daughter. And we can see now where that picture is too big to work on. So I'm going to shrink it back down a little bit so I can do a little bit of work on it first, resizing it. So we're going to pull from the corner again, resize it down, pull it up, see where we're at here, resize it some more, put it in there just like so. Now, if you really wanted to make this a little bit quicker, what we're going to do here is just go and we're going to start placing all of our photographs. Let's grab the next photograph here. This is my son, the fine new young father. And we are going to pull this down. It's his baby, him and his wife. And we're going to put this right up in here. He's going to be the center window. And we're going to fix these up, so don't worry about that. We'll just get this started because then what I want to do is blow this up a little bit and make it a little bit easier to see, but we don't want to do it photo by photo, so we'll do it step by step. Here is my oldest stepdaughter. So we're going to put her in there. We're going to add her to our little work of art here. Okay, just stick that in there. And then we're going to place in here. We're going to actually place in here my lovely wife. And we're going to just pull her down. And we're going to bring her up here, resize a little bit more. And I'm just left clicking my mouse and pulling on these pictures. And we're going to just stick her right in there. Okay. Now, when we do this part of it here, I wanted to make this so it's bigger first, okay? Now, if you noticed on the right-hand side under our layer columns, look what's happening to our layers. We have a layer for each person, okay? So what we could do, let me see here. What we could do if this is me here, you can rename these layers just by right-clicking on the layer and hit rename. We'll hit here Pap, that would be me. And watch the photo down there when you're clicking on these and find out who it is. This is Mary. And this one is Jordan. And this one right here is, I'm going to put on here, rename that and put on there Dad. Just a proud dad. And this one here is my daughter, so we'll rename this Dage. Okay, like that. Okay, so now when we do that, we can see each layer is a photo in there. So when we go to work on these, we know that we can click on that layer, and that is what we're working on. A lot of people get confused. They start working on a photograph on their edit, and they get lost by clicking on like the wrong layer, and they don't know why they can't select it or do what they want. You have to make sure you click on the layer that you want to work on. All right, now we're going to blow this thing back up. And I'm just using my Alt key and just spinning my mouse. You can use Zoom, whatever works for you to get this thing blowed up so you can actually work on it. All right, so this is the first one we're working on. And again, we'll just start resizing it a little bit here. And I'm just using my left mouse again. I'm pulling this down and around here without distorting it a whole lot yet because we're going to distort a little bit. All right, so that's good. Click your little check box or hit your Enter key. And go up to Image, Distort. And this, again, is when we can pull it around here a little bit. We can fit it in that window a little tighter And don't worry if your photo goes over a little bit, because it's going to. There's going to be times it's going to overlap, and I'm going to show you we're going to correct that also. It's just one of those cool little edits, something. But like I said, when you're out, anywhere you're out, I was even taking background pictures yesterday. Not so much background pictures. I was taking pictures of overlaid materials, just to do different things with that. Pictures of brick and whatever. So I tend to do that every now and then with my cell phone camera. All right. There. Oops. Pull this back up a little bit. Click this box, and again, we're going to image transform. We're going to distort this one just a little bit, and we're just going to pull this down a little bit. And I'm just putting this in the corner of the windows. And what distort allows us to do is make it fit the shape or the object that we're putting the photographs in, right? That's very important. Okay, click the checkbox. Next one, Jord here. We're going to work on her just a little bit. We'll pull it up a little bit and maybe down a little bit, just like so. Maybe over a little bit. Click the checkbox and go back to image, transform and distort. And we'll just distort this one just a little bit to fix her up here. So as you can see, it's not taking away a lot from the overall photograph. We're not making the person shorter, fatter, skinnier, or anything. We're just simply distorting the picture just enough to make it a more realistic edit. Let me pull this over just a little bit here, maybe, just like so. And click the checkbox. Next, we'll click on Mary here, and we're going to do the same thing, just like this. And you can see where this window frame is even more leaning, because it looks like the train is kind of going downhill. So we're going to just pull this over a little bit. Click the checkbox, go back up to image, transform, distort. Okay, distort works on all kind of photographs. Now we can distort the frame a little bit and pull it in there a little bit tighter. It's really coming along pretty good here, right? It's looking like a good edit, something you want to do. And click the checkbox. Now what we want to do is any place that we have where we think the photograph overlapped a little bit. And those are actually fairly decent. Looking around here a little bit. We do have a little bit right up here on the top of this frame. You see this top of this frame. See if I can blow this up a little bit. So if you look at the top of this frame, you can see where the picture overlapped the top of the frame here, right over top of my daughter's head here, the second photograph we're looking at. So what we want to do is click on her, okay, click on her photograph, and we're going to go up and we're going to add a layer mask, okay? The layer mask, remember, if we paint with black, we can reveal what's underneath of it. So this is what's underneath of it, layer 1, right? So we know that if we paint black on this trim right here on the top of her picture, it will reveal the frame. So we can go ahead and do that. We're going to grab ourselves a paintbrush and make sure your foreground color is black. We're just going to simply go over top of this. And you can see where the top of her photograph now is actually disappearing, because it's not really disappearing, but we're revealing what's underneath of it is what we're doing. So that way you can clean that frame up. Very, very simply. Now, as you see, I went over a little bit. Okay. So if you go over a little bit more, something happens like that, and you're like, oh man, now I got to redo that whole photo. That is not true. If you hit the letter X key on your keyboard, it changes your color palette to white. And white will again bring the top picture out and hide that bottom, the background there. So we're using white, painting with white, just like so. Go across here. We're going to go across and look at the rest of the pictures and make sure everything looks okay. I'm just scrolling up and down, just seeing where we're at here. Those look pretty good. His looks pretty good. So if you need the layer mask, it is there for you to use. I can see right here, this bottom of this frame. So this is Jordan's picture. So I'm going to go to Jord. And again, we are going to add a layer mask. A lot of people say, Jack, when I start painting, this is what happens. I start painting. Oops. We're going to cancel it because it says we want to simplify. But if you start painting on here, they say, oh, Jack, wait, what happened was it's painting black all over my picture. That is because you're painting on the photograph itself instead of painting on the layer mask. So make sure you add your layer mask at this little white icon to the right of your layer, and then paint with black again. So hit the letter X. We're just going to go along the bottom of this right here, maybe the side right there, and right here a little bit, just to clean it up just a little bit. Now, if you want to make it even a lighter cleanup, if you just change the opacity a little bit, you can work on a little bit tighter. You can kind of blend it a little bit more, just like so. Make sure you're over here a little bit. All right. Let's go to the last photo here and make sure it looks pretty good, which it does. I mean, yeah, looks pretty good. I do see a little bit here in the bottom. So you look at the bottom, you're like, well, there's a little bit of glass right there. So we're going to click on Mary, and we are going to click on our selection tool again. Then we're going to click back on Image, Transform, because you can go back and do this. As long as it's a Photoshop file, we can keep playing with this and clean it up as much as we want. Just like so. And we'll try to bring this around top there. And we'll bring it over just a little bit more. Then click on the OK button. Little checkbox there. All right, I'm going to hit the Alt key and scroll back out and see what we got going on here. And we can see that that is fairly decent. Everybody's in their windows, and we're going to keep moving on with the edits. Now, the next part about this edit I thought would be really interesting and really nice to do is to add a little bit more flair to it. Now, I was looking at this and I said, well, this is pretty cool. You know, it looks pretty nice, but it doesn't really tell a story. So let's go ahead and begin telling our story. Stories are done by using text, right? Just like if you're writing a book. So we're going to put, we're going to click here in this top red part, and I'm going to type the baby's name, which is Chase. Okay, that's his first name. Click OK. Once I click OK, I can resize this. And I'm going to resize this here and bring it up. But I want to make sure it stays within the boundaries of that red. I don't want it to go over top of that red. I want it to look like they painted it on this train. All right, so there it is. So there is the name Chase. It's flat black. It looks like maybe, you know, the artistic work of a, you know, a 4-year-old child. It doesn't look too classy or nothing special about it. So I had to do a little bit more with this. I had to think, well, we're going to do a little bit more. First thing is, the train, you see the top of the wood here is going downhill from left to right. Okay, it's going downhill. The name is going straight across. That doesn't seem right to me. So we're going to go ahead and do one of our little tricks here. We're going to do transform, and we're going to skew it just a little bit. And all we're going to do is pull that up a little bit. You can see we can actually make the letters, I'll pull this up more. We can make the letters go up and down wherever we want them. So we're going to pull it up a little bit just to make it so it looks more like it's going downhill with the actual red itself. Once we do that, if you've watched any of my videos in the past, you'll know that, well, Jack doesn't really like to do stuff like that, right? It looks really flat, really black. So we're going to go on to Styles, and we're going to add a bevel. So when I click the bevel, you can see now where those letters beveled up. Okay, so it looks like it's got a little bit more poof to it. Bang for your buck, have you say. Go back to your layers, and we're going to play with that little bit there. And what we do is we click on the little FX. See where it says indicates a layer style. Double click it, and this is our layer styles box. We're going to add a glow. So we're going to add a glow. You can either do inside or outside glow. Okay, whichever you want. I tend to use the inside more. And you can make this whatever color you want. Let's say you wanted to do a yellow. Something like so. And then you can make it whatever size you want. You can really blow that out there, but then it's all yellow. So you just want a little crispness on it, just like so. We can add a drop shadow if we like. We can drop shadow it so it looks like it's coming off the deck a little bit there, or off the backing. You can add a little drop shadow if you want. You can even increase the bevel if you want to a little bit, just to bring that bevel up a little bit more. That's totally up to you. This is totally within your eye of editing. Now I thought, okay, that looks really nice and everything, but we need to do one more thing. And the one more thing I thought we would do is add a birth date. So we're going to click on text again. I'm going to go down this white piece down here. We're going to add his birth date. November. We'll say it was the 12th, 2016. Click OK. Pull this back. Try to center it with that top one. Stretch it out again there to make it bigger. And again, if you were watching the first part of this video, click the checkbox. You will know that we don't want that straight. We want it to go up a little bit, so it's going downhill. So we use our image, transform, and skew, and we're going to skew those letters up a little bit again. Skew that up, and we'll skew this side down a little bit. Now it looks like it should be on there. It's going the proper way. Now, unless you're really, really good at adding your styles, I find it really easy to simply click on the FX itself on the style, hold your Command or Control key down, and pull it down to the other effect or the other text. Okay. Now let's see that again. Pull it back up. I'm sorry. Hold your Alt key down and click on it and drag it. What that does is we can duplicate the same effect onto the different text layers. So now we have the same effect on the text layers that we have up here. And that is a pretty decent edit. We're going to try to back this back out a little bit. No, Alt Jack not in. And now you have a photograph that is perfect for framing. You can take it out. Like I said, this is just one of those little holiday edits I like to play around with. I seen this train the other day and I thought, I know exactly what I want to do with it. And this is what I came up with. So hopefully you enjoyed this video tutorial. A lot of people ask me, I'm going to tell you one more thing here before I go. To save this, you're going to save this as two ways. First, do a save as, and we're going to call this, I did this earlier today, so we're going to call this edit 2. We're going to save it first as a PSD file. The PSD file means it's a Photoshop file. And the reason we want to do that is because it saves the layers, it includes it in your Elements Organizer, and it saves your color profile. Click OK. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to save this because I had one person call me and said, look, Jack, I took my PSD file, I put it on my thumb drive, I went to Kinko's or Walmart or wherever they went. They stuck it in the machine, it wouldn't print it. Well, of course it won't print it. They don't have Photoshop on those machines. So what we need to do is we will change this to a JPEG. Once you have the JPEG set up, now you can save it. Because what that does is it flattens those layers together. If you look over here on the right, look how all the layers are flattened up now. So it flattens the layers together. It gives us this option here. A lot of people get confused with this. If you are printing this thing, you want it to be the highest quality, the most megabits that we can possibly get. So do large file and do number 12. If you're posting this on the internet, you may want to do something like a medium. Okay. Or I usually do high with today's high-speed internet. You can see the file size drop to 1.1 megabit, which is a smaller file. I like maximum if I'm going to save it, and I slide this all the way up to 12. It's 4.4. Click OK. And you can see it didn't harm our layers. The layers came back, but it compressed it for that JPEG photograph. And you may say, well, Jack, that's all well and good, but what does that JPEG photograph look like? Well, let's see here what it looks like. We can bring it up here. Open it with my preview window. And there you go. That is the actual edited photo, and it's ready to go to send it off or to take it to your local, wherever you have them printed. Hopefully you use something like Shutterfly or SmugMug, because SmugMug is where you should do all of your professional photographs and your cells. Shutterfly is more of one of those personal things. So it's totally up to you where you want to send those. But don't forget that SmugMug is one of the sponsors for the shows. And it's nice that you folks use them. And if you do, make sure you mention, Jack's Tech Corner. All right. So, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial, and I hope you go ahead and do one of these edits. If you are following my Facebook group, which is very easy to follow, it is Jack's Tech Corner. And if you want to learn Photoshop Elements, we have 12, 13, and 14. Go to jtclearning.com. That's jtclearning.com. I'll have a link down in the description. Folks, thanks. I hope to see some of your edits on our Facebook group, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care, and bye-bye for now.